The value of play within Qigong practice. That's going to be the topic of this episode of Qi Life. All right, if you've watched this vlog for a while, you'll notice I often refer back to the simple definition or simple translation of the word Qigong, because it helps us to understand what it is that we're talking about. So within Qigong, it's made up of two parts: Qi, meaning energy, and Gong, meaning work or skill. Now, the implication is that, by working over time, we develop skill with our energy, and I think that's a healthy understanding to have. However, sometimes there can be a tendency with the understanding of those words to think of that work in a bit too serious of a way, and that can limit a little bit our experience and understanding of Qigong. And so another word that we sometimes use as a counterpoint to this is play. And you may have heard people talking about playing at Qigong. Maybe you might have heard people use it in that context. And there's value to both these concepts. There's value to the work meaning putting dedicated effort in over time, and sometimes as part of that having at least a somewhat clear understanding of where it is you want to get to. And there's also value in this idea of play, because that makes the process richer, and we're often able to discover more when we bring in an element of play as well. I don't think we should have just one without the other. If all we do is play, often that can become unstructured and we don't really get anywhere. The work part often helps to drive us forward in a specific direction. On the other hand, if all we have is the work, you can think of this like a little bit like being on a journey, and all you're focusing on is getting to your end destination. And so all you do is like you have tunnel vision and you just focus on the road. That may be okay, it might get you to your destination, but you miss so much that you might have gained from just opening your vision to seeing what was around you on that road, and there's so much that you might have discovered. And sometimes that may actually help you on the journey just to get to your destination. By looking around you, you might find, oh, actually, when there's traffic ahead, there's a detour. There's another way that I could go to get past the traffic. Or, oh, there's a good place where I could stop and have a rest, and that's going to help me to get through the rest of the journey in a more pleasant way, and so on. Just a simple analogy. You probably don't need to go too deep into that. So how can we play within our Qigong practice? For me, playing within our Qigong practice, partly it means having an attitude of fun, of exploration within our Qigong practice. And this can mean giving yourself permission to break away from too strict an understanding of exactly how you have to do a practice. Now, the strictness, that's probably the work part, there's value to that too. Understanding that there are specific principles that work in a specific way and lead to specific results. But having said that, our understanding of those strict principles may not be 100% accurate. And so if we try to adhere to them too strongly, we might be missing something. We might not actually be fully understanding them. On the other hand, if we allow ourselves that flexibility to go, yes, here's this principle, this is what I want to explore, but it's okay for me to actually explore to either side of this principle or this specific alignment or whatever it might be, that actually helps us to understand it more fully and have a richer experience of it. So that can be as simple as, when you're doing a practice, trying doing it faster or slower to see what the effect is. Trying adjusting your alignment of your posture somewhat within it and seeing how that feels to you. It can be simple little things like that, or it can be further, explorations away from that. And when we give ourselves this permission to play, then again, there's so much more we can discover. Another way we can understand that word play is if you think of a rope, and when you tie a rope to something, when it's very, very tight, there's very little play in it. It won't move very much. If it's too tight, that will often distort whatever it is that we've tied that rope to. It will pull things out of shape. And so we want to loosen it off so it's holding things firmly, but in a way that's not distorting things. And so again, to those strict principles, it's like, yes, we want to apply the principle, but we don't want to be so strict with that principle that it causes us to lose sight of or distort some other part of our practice or experience. When there's play in a rope, it means it can move somewhat side to side. There's a certain amount of looseness that gives it flexibility. I think this is a very healthy thing to have within our practice. And again, it can be experimenting with different parts of the practice. It can also be simply having that attitude of curiosity and exploration and even fun as you do your practice. Within the long White Cloud Qigong practices, I always try to encourage this attitude amongst the people who do the courses that we run, to realize that they can explore different parts of the practice to discover them for themselves. This will also help them if they need to adapt any parts of the practice so it can be more effective for them. They have that flexibility to do that. There are also several practices where we really specifically bring out this aspect of play by having parts of the practice which are intentionally unstructured, where to do it, you have to come up and explore for yourself. So there are two parts of the practices where really this comes to the fore, perhaps more strongly than others. One is in the enter the flow practices, which we do within the small Universe Qigong course. Those enter the flow practices relate to the phase of the movement of our energy within where the energy is circulating within the energy field. And this is much like the movement of clouds and rain, which is naturally quite unstructured. And so the nature of that practice at its very essence is unstructured. And this is a beautiful thing for people to explore within their practice. It has benefits both physically in allowing us to move in ways that we otherwise might not have thought of or permitted ourselves to, so that therefore we can bring the energy more freely into different parts of our body, different parts of our energy system. And it also has benefits psychologically in encouraging us to have this ability to move beyond just following a very specific guideline or instruction to exploring and playing for ourselves. Another part of the practices where really this playfulness comes to the surface is, unsurprisingly, because it is in the name, it's within the wild animal play, which we teach as part of the Inner Fire Qigong program. So those wild animal play practices are really active and dynamic, and there's parts of them where we do go through specific movements for each of the animals that we work with within that practice, to develop the capacity of the body and to develop the character of movement and energy of that animal within us, which then we use those as a preparation to then be able to play as that animal. And when we play as that animal, it opens us up to moving in any way while embodying the character of that animal. And so again, this is a really interesting aspect of practice to get into. We don't throw people straight into just playing as animal, because again, play by itself often isn't all that productive. It can just end to not really finding any further. Having a direction to get us going is really valuable. And so we do have specific parts of the practice that give the direction, develop the structure. And then once that's there, play around that structure to experience things more richly relating to the energy of that animal. So, and then beyond that, of course, we can bring that play into every part of our practice in different ways. Anyway, I thought that might be interesting. It might give someone watching this vlog a little bit of reflection on their own practice and maybe why they enjoy being playful in their practice, or possibly open up a perspective where perhaps it would be useful to play a little bit more within your Qigong practice. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the vlog, and I look forward to seeing you on another one soon.